Welcome to Commander Central, episode 45. We decided to change things up a bit this time, and with that change, I'm sad to say, comes the lack of a bad joke that I can't tie into this intro. But I do have one joke that my son gave me. So, what do you guys call a cow with no legs?
What do you call a cow?
Lunch.
A burger? Yeah, that's right.
Ground beef.
Oh, good job.
Wow.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Oh, no, that wasn't good.
For his age, that's great. That's
Six-year-old,
gold.
that's 6-year-old, that's pretty solid, yeah.
So this episode is going to be a recap of the excitement that took place in Viva Las Vegas.
And there is a lot to cover from GP Vegas for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there is. We will also cover news in the world of magic, check in with our social butterflies from the interwebs, and bring you our insights into the wonderful world of EDH. And I'm Chris.
I'm Dana.
I'm Max.
And that was completely backwards. So how's everyone doing on this wonderful summer day in the old Wisconsin?
It took me a couple days to get back in the swing of both having a job and not being in Vegas, because Vegas is a different planet. Like, it's not at all like living in the normal world.
I'm not back yet.
Re-entry was tricky.
Literally.
Yeah,
Re-entry was tricky.
Yes, right. Literally, because we hit the storms on Sunday night when we were coming back in. So, like, the last 10 minutes of the flight were, like, pounding up and down. And I actually got sick in my seat. But I hadn't eaten anything all day, so I spent, like, literally, like, the last 5 minutes of the flight, like, dry heaving silently to myself.
Oh,
And
no.
I was, too, and I typically don't get air
I didn't notice you did. You did, too?
Oh, I was holding it back. Because I'm sitting there going, Dana's going to throw up. I'm going to throw up. This nice lady that I've never met before next to me is going to throw up.
It's going to turn into that Family Guy episode.
Yeah, right.
Where they'll
And
just start throwing up everywhere.
Because there was no bag in the seat. I'm like,
Right.
looking, I'm like, Max, can you look and see if you had one?
So Delta Airlines, if you listen to our podcast, there were no barf bags on flight.
I'm just going, please land. Please just land. Please just land. Like, I don't get scared. I just like the motion, like the popping up and down. Yeah, that was too much. That was over my limit.
Yeah, you guys were gone. You missed the Blue Angels.
I heard everyone on Facebook was posting about them just sonic booms throughout the town.
Yep. There was a couple times they had to actually quit flying because we had so much weird weather come through here.
Really?
Yeah, because you can't really fly through that type of weather.
Sure, I suppose. Versus Vegas, where I don't think we saw a cloud over the course of 7 days.
Nope.
Was it hot?
It was great.
It dropped down to like 104 one day. I think that was the cold day.
Only 104.
The first day we went to the pool, and it was like 110 out at noon.
Yeah, it was.
The rest of the week when we went at 9 in the morning for adult hour,
right.
it was a nice 89 to 92 every morning. It was so great. I loved it. I'd go back in a heartbeat.
I was fine with it. I think it would be tough to live there year round. I would have a tough time with that. But a week of it, I was perfectly fine with that temperature for a week because it's dry for one, and you're.
Oh, it's not like here where your shirt's stuck.
Well,
to you.
It was much more miserable getting off the plane here, having it be like 90 degrees with ridiculous humidity than it was at 110 down there with no humidity at all.
It's so hot down there, you sweat and it evaporates immediately.
Yeah, like your shirt doesn't get wet when you're walking around in the heat because you just, it's so dry and warm that it's just gone.
It was awesome.
Why can't we go to like a GP in like Alaska or something?
Right.
I have a place to stay.
I love the cold weather, so.
GP Saskatoon, we can crash with CCO.
Oh Lord, no, I don't. We might not make the GP.
Bunk down with the goons from Saskatoon. It'll be a good time.
Every time I hear the word Saskatoon, I think of, I do believe it was Grown Ups.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that for our listeners. Watch the movie. You'll understand what I'm saying. So I checked into social media, and pretty much everybody, what they're talking about right now is either GP Vegas, which is what we're going to talk about, or M19 spoilers, which I'm assuming we're going to be doing next week.
We'll do it next week. We might reference one or two things briefly. Because I will say this. So I listened to our show on Monday afternoon when I was taking a walk downtown. And at that point, spoilers had started dropping over the course of the last week, of course, then on Monday again. And there's a point in our show for the Ravnica one where we all kind of like, poor Corset 19. There's no way you look good compared to the last couple sets. And, of course, we've since then gotten like Doubling Season reprinted and Crucible reprinted and a bunch of good new cards. And probably the best core set I've seen in... I don't know how many years. I guess I could go back and look at, like, I think 10th edition was really tight, but
Origins wasn't bad.
Origin wasn't bad, but this is the best one definitely in recent memory in the last decade.
It's definitely going to be worth it.
By a large margin. So, yeah. So there goes our words about poor Core Set.
Oh, and we'll delve into it much deeper.
We'll get into it next week for sure.
So anything new on our Patreon front?
We do. We have 4 new Patreons to announce. Jared Gross, which we may have mentioned in the past couple episodes. It's been a while since we recorded, so I'm just going to say your name again.
That week off to Vegas feels like 3.
Yeah. Our good friend James Felton from Ponder Software for cardstock MTG app on the iOS platform.
I dropped James's pin off at his work, and I posted a picture of the tweet. I put it up out on Twitter because I put it in an envelope for him. And I'm like, I don't know if he should. I dropped this off at his office or something because I was walking by. So I wrote on it, money for drugs. that way it wasn't suspicious at all. So if you're wondering who got that pin, that's James who we're reading right now.
Dustin Trent and Anthony Snyder. So thank you, everybody, for supporting us on Patreon. And, of course, you can find us by searching Patreon by CMDR Central.
You can also find us on Twitter at CMDR Central, Facebook search us CMDR Central, YouTube search us CMDR Central, and find us online at cmdrcentral.com.
And our final place is going to be flipsidegaming.com. If you use promo code CMDR when you check out on any orders $10 or more, you'll get 10% back, 10% off of your order, and we get a little kickback as well, so it helps keeps the lights on. And then we also want to bring up that Flipside Gaming currently has a mini documentary about Richard Kane Ferguson, the MTG artist.
And it's a really good documentary. It's absolutely worth watching.
It's 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who he is, he did Dak and Blackblade.
Yep.
That's one of his more notable arts that I know. And they also have some of his original arts now in playmats that you can purchase through them, which you can use that awesome promo code and get a little discount on.
Get your discount on your cool Richard Kane Ferguson playmat, for sure. And we should also mention our June giveaways. First giveaway is going to be to Patreon supporters, and that will be the deck from the Atraxa Bowl in all its glory. We'll touch on that a little bit.
Super close to the Atraxa Bowl deck.
Super close to the Atraxa Bowl, right.
100% matching.
But close. So that is going to be given away to anyone who supports us on Patreon, and that's including new subscribers before the end of June. And the second giveaway will be to anybody on Twitter who tweets at us with the hashtag CMDRJune. And that's going to be a collection of autographed cards we picked up at GP Vegas. Let's see. I got a Sign in Blood signed by Howard Lyon, and he did it like in a blood splatter signature. That looks really, really cool. And I got a foil Crypt of Agadim signed by Jason Felix.
Awesome. And the other 3 are a signed Chromatic Lantern, a signed Skyship Sovereign, Council's Flagship. Is that what is the total name of the card?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember.
Sky Sovereign Council's Flagship.
Something like that.
Yes.
And then a signed Enlightened Tutor from Eternal Masters.
So very good cards with very cool signatures.
And great value in those cards.
For sure. So that's just simply by tweeting CMDR June on the Twitter birds.
Yeah. Oh, the Twitter birds. I love it. All right, gentlemen. Let's talk Vegas.
We can't.
There's some things we can't say about it. No, that's not really. We played so much Magic. I would like to.
That's all we did.
Act like we did really cool stuff we can't talk about, but it was no hangover.
So I'm just going to hit this hard, fast. This is the very first thing I want to talk about, and I'm sure everyone else is wondering. Atraxa Bowl 2018.
So
disorganized.
That was disorganized. Which should not be a shock at all because it started off as just us and CCO talking some trash and exploded to the point where other people who aren't podcasters just showed up with Atraxa decks wanting to play.
That is awesome.
Like it was an event or something. Yeah, that was actually kind of cool. So we wound up with 2 tables.
We should have charged them.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. We should have. Well, she donated a token she drew. She's the young lady who showed up with a deck. She was an artist, and
I just followed her on Twitter today, so keep talking and I'll bring it up.
I did. Sebi Wakawayak, and you can find her on Twitter at PsychoSebi. So she came and wound up playing in the Atraxa Bowl as well, and then illustrated a really cool and maybe not entirely all age appropriate Elvish Norn token that CCO.
Atraxa token.
Atraxa token, that's right. that CCO is giving away to raise money for Wedge.
Along with the altar of Atraxa that they used as a commander
And
that we all signed.
Everyone signed that as well. So they're doing a giveaway, an auction to raise money for Wedge, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, this young lady who showed up, did she stick to the guidelines of...
She didn't really, just because she didn't know.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a broken deck or anything. It was maybe a little bit faster than the rest of ours, but it wasn't a problem.
All right.
Which wound up just making her the target, actually, first, because she kicked off fast.
So, here's a question for you guys. Who is the declared winner?
So we had wound up with 2 pods.
Okay.
Our pod was us, the Legendary Creature podcast, and then like a hybrid team of Commanderin and the Brothers War podcast, and then Sebi and a friend of hers whose name I didn't catch.
I did not either.
So we had 4 in ours, and then the other one was CCO,
Patrick Sapola
and Dean.
Nate Burgess.
Sorry, Nate Burgess from Commander Time.
Separate teams. They were not a team together.
And Commander's Brew.
Yep. Sean from Commander's Brew.
Yep. So we had 4 and 4. CCO wound up winning theirs
by being dirtbags.
by being dirtbags.
Oh, no.
There was a backstab on a deal. But they got the win. They got the win with it, I believe, off a Kickstarter application onto
Master Biomancer.
Alt win.
Alt win.
Yep.
In ours, Commanderin wound up winning. It was a pretty decent back and forth game for the most part. But what they played a whatever the rat is, it has Icarat that has infect.
Oh no!
Which gives everyone infect when it comes. It gives everyone a poison counter.
And that's literally it was their only infect card in the deck, and that's the only reason he said we aren't even going to swing with it. It's just going to give everybody 1.
Yep. And then everyone's like, let's proliferate the poison counters.
Well, the reason that happened is because they played Helm of the Host and copied their Atraxa with
the
it.
plan was they would have more proliferate triggers than the rest of us. And then Legendary Creatures were playing a Enchantress Atraxa.
Wow.
It was awesome.
The thing it was a little slow, but what they did was they managed to cast Enduring Ideal, which is the epic spell from Kamigawa that stops you from playing anything else, but it recasts every turn and allows you to go tutor up an enchantment and put it into play. And they had Paradox Haze out, which gives you 2 upkeep, so they were getting 2 triggers off it. So they couldn't do anything else except for go grab enchantments and play them every turn. Meanwhile, Commanderin is trying to proliferate poison, and we're trying. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. We ended up taking 3rd in our pod just because we had 1 extra poison counter over a Legendary Creature, so we technically died first.
You guys died, then you die. So it happened at the same time. But I mean, it was fun. I would never do it again.
That was actually my next question. Would you want to do it again?
Not with Atraxa.
Atraxa, part of the problem is because the way the proliferate ability works, there's just so many chances to just do something stupid to somebody else, and it just gets so chaotic.
Right.
But it was fun. It was fun to do with all these people.
And meet everybody. That was the big thing. We got to meet everybody, and DJ from Jumbo Commander was going to participate, and then he had his wife was with him, and they wanted to go do some husband and wife stuff
for
dinner, so he had to scrap participating. But now I get to watch his video, though, to find out what his deck was about.
Yeah, right. I have not watched it either. I'm going to have to watch that and catch up.
Interesting. Very interesting.
We all want to do something like this next year, and I think we've all learned we need to just be a little more organized.
Yes.
Way ahead of time, because there were even people that participated were like, we really don't know the rules, so here we are.
What I was thinking today was we could maybe do something like have everyone bring an unopened precon from any point in time for Commander, whatever precon you want to bring, and then draft them. Not like break them open, just like we do like some kind of a random order, and then you pick your precon and someone else picks one, and you play with the precon you draft.
Hats or things in a hat, and you pull out and whatever number you pull is the
and whoever's number 1 can take whichever one of the precons from the selection they want, and all the way down to last place, you get to take the last place deck, which is going to be, who knows what it would be at that point, depending on what this year's precons are. You get
you get the mono white Planeswalker Nahiri deck.
Nahiri deck, yeah, that would be it.
It's not a bad deck though. Precon.
It isn't. So I thought maybe something like that. That way, we can all play something stupid, but you don't have to do too much brewing ahead of time either, and everyone's kind of on an equal foot. Whatever. We've got
that was our problem,
right?
I would totally be the guy who showed up with the Edgar Vampire deck and just set it down and be like, "Whoever draws first, guarantee that's the one they're taking."
Good luck with Edgar. So we'll come up with something. We've got a year
Ish.
roughly to figure it out. So, but yeah,
Alright.
no, that was a good time.
Awesome. So let's move on to the large EDH pod tournament thing.
The Commander Championship
Okay,
Tournament.
that's what it was. So let's discuss this. First of all, did either of you enter?
We both did.
We both played in it. Yep.
And how did you do?
I went. Was it 5 rounds or 6
You
rounds?
played all 5.
I played all 5. I went 2 and 3.
Okay.
So I won 2 pods and lost 3.
I played 4 of the 5 rounds. I tied for first in 2 of my pods.
Because you guys went to time.
Because all but one of my rounds went to time. And these were 90-minute rounds. And when they called time, active player finished their turn, and then everybody else remaining in the pod got 1 turn.
Okay, makes sense.
Right. Okay. So my first game went to time. Everybody but 1 player took first. My second round, 1 person won. Everybody took third. And then the third game, I tied for first. And the fourth game was the first time I got comboed out on turn 5 on.
Well, that was actually my next question. What kind of decks did you guys encounter with this?
Oy.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of what I expected. There was that, the person to your left sits down with like a Kemba deck running, equipment, and
Yep.
it's slow and mono white. And then the person across them's like, here's my Narset deck, and here's my Flash Hulk deck. And like, so it was a mix of people playing goofy decks or slow homebrew kind of decks, and then tryhards playing like CEDH decks.
Now, what was the first place prize?
I don't even know.
They got eventually with how the points ended up, because you got so many points for placing first, second, third, fourth. Once all the points were compiled, they pretty much gathered the final pot of 4, and they played off for a trophy and a play mat, like a special altar of a soul ring.
I saw that Soul Ring playmat, but I was wondering if that was the only prize.
Nope, everybody got that, but the winner got a trophy, and then they got an altered soul ring because the artist was there.
Okay.
Yep.
And then 4 or 5 people that you also voted for most interesting deck in your pod, or it did something cool or whatever, and 4 other people got that same altered soul ring.
Interesting.
It was I'm torn. There was a couple problems with it. First of all, from the beginning, Commander, once you start talking about things like playing for a prize pool
Or prize tickets.
that messes things up. Like I went into it, I played my Recce deck, so it's an effective deck, but like I knew I was going to get crushed by like Blood Pod or something along those lines.
Yep.
And I have no problem with like CEDH level decks in a vacuum. And I find Lab Maniacs do a really good show about CEDH stuff. It's really interesting. Like I don't like playing it. I have no urge to play it, but watching like the interactions and the math happen and how they build, I think is really, really cool to see. However, when you match that up against the dude with the Kemba deck or the guy playing mostly stock, Atraxa, I saw an Atraxa deck that was mostly stock. It was a +1 counter stack, and it was slow and running like giant hydras. That's just bad news for anybody who's not playing the CDH level deck. And one of the things that real competitive people always say is like, we don't want to do pub stomp stuff. Like that's not fun. And that's one of the things that Lab Maniacs always talks about is like, we want to play against other CEDH level decks. But you're not going to face that in that tournament. Like that Commander tournament, it specifically said on it, this is a casual event. And
it did say
it
casual
did say
event.
that. And Josh Lee Kwai was one of the consultants for it and was playing in it. And if you know who he is, he's running relatively slow decks. You can watch a game night to see what those guys are playing. So I'm torn. Like I understand it's a tournament and people are playing to win, but I feel like when you show up with that Blood Pod combo deck and you're planning on winning on turn 3, or there was a guy who cast a turn 2 Narset against me. Turn 2 Narset.
How did he pull that?
With a Lion's Eye Diamond and a Chrome Mox.
Oh, wow.
And then he had to pitch his hand on turn 2 for the Lion's Eye, and it got forced. So then he was just done. And he was just done at that point. But that's just like, I don't know. It's a weird mix. Like I think, because I see both things too. It is competitive. I mean, it is like a tournament.
Yeah.
You do want to win, but also you're going to be stomping people that have terrible decks.
I think if that was a big issue, what they should have done is they should have made it a like how we do in our store, a 1v1 ban list type of.
Maybe.
So then you're not getting your soul rings, your fast mana, anything like that, and then you can build around that.
Then I think the problem with that is people then have to change their like deck they play in their home shop
Right.
too much.
Yeah.
There's no good solution, really. Unfortunately, I just don't know how you solve that problem.
I think I had not a better time doing it than Dana did, but I had a different time because, like I said, I played 4 of my 5 rounds, mainly because of the time limit. Like, those 4 rounds took 8-9 hours because of...
Yeah, it was a slow day.
Very slow day.
Really?
Yeah. But I didn't see a combo deck until my round 4. Someone brought blue braids, and they dropped Jin-Gitaxias the turn after they played braids, and everybody was done.
Whereas I saw at least one
Every round.
CEDH deck that I recognize right away based on the cards. Like, I know what that is. That's Blood Pot. I know what that is. That's
Flash Hulk.
Like, I could tell right away what the decks were in every one of my pods. On the other hand, I won 2 of them.
Okay.
With Reki.
With Reki. Just because, number one, like, someone would like hit the person.
Because Reki's broken. We've
Right.
discussed
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, right.
We've discussed this a few times.
I won 1 with a Kamal's Druidic Vow for, I think, 34.
Oh.
So
And
that's
just-
your
Whoa.
deck.
And just put everything into play and just killed somebody. And then I won the other one with a Overwhelming Stampede for like 29. Because I can't remember what I had out. I think it was Omnath. And pumped a bunch of mana into him. And so I did win 2 games. I mean, it wasn't a miserable experience. It's just, I don't know how you rectify it.
Right.
There's just no way to there's no way to balance it, really.
No.
But
And I mean, I took Dramoka. I didn't take Brago. I took
Right.
Dramoka just because I didn't know what to expect. I went in thinking I'm going to see what Dana saw, a combo deck in every round, and I didn't.
you didn't, right.
Or I think there was one round where I played a Git Frog monster deck, and I think he had the combo in there. He just couldn't find it, or maybe it was a new deck because he wasn't executing it perfectly. So I was kind of sitting there like, why haven't you won yet? And like turn 10, like you should be winning by now.
Every Gitrog deck I've ever played, usually if they're not winning by turn 5, they're not going to win the game.
Right. And he eventually won, but it took him 15 turns to do it.
Really?
So I was really confused.
That was the other weird thing I saw a little bit of, and you weren't the only person to see it, neither was I, were people playing with really strong decks that they didn't really know how to play.
So pretty much what they did was they went online. They're like, okay, this is an amazing deck.
I would assume so.
Put it together, but they have no seat time.
Because there was
behind it.
the last round, there was a Chain Veil deck I lost, Teferi Chain Veil, and I mean he took 20 minutes to get the last turn Chain Veil combo off as we're just sitting there.
You know, I was impressed with how well Dramoka held up. I was not expecting it to do anything. Maybe it was just my lucky day. I had all the good draws. I never ran out of gas, but...
Well, that's a good point to segue into this comment I wanted to make at some point. Sunday night, before we flew to Vegas, we were in Minneapolis, and we went to Lodestone Coffee and Games in Minneapolis, which is a really nice shop. If you're in Minneapolis in the area, you've never been there, go there.
It's great.
It's great. It smells like coffee and cinnamon buns, which is a great environment for a card store anyway. So we played there Sunday night, and then on Tuesday night when we were in Vegas, we went to
Dark Side Games.
which is a ways outside of Vegas, but I mean it was a 20-minute cab ride. It wasn't terrible. We played there, and then we of course played all weekend at the GP. And by and large, I would say our meta is very similar to those 2 shops at least, and the people we played with at the GP more or less.
So it was very similar.
I would say,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were differences you would see in different places, like this one particular shop. You see more of this. I saw a lot more mana crypts and mana vaults than we see at our shop.
Same here.
Just because people don't run them, like it's not like people don't have them. You guys both have those things in your binders. You just don't put them in decks for the most part.
They're just kind of. I find them hard then again, I play 3-color decks, so it's like I can't really jam in this mana rack that only creates colorless.
And we play against enough people that don't have them or can't afford them that it's not that fun to race ahead of somebody who just can't afford to buy a crypt.
Yep.
So I saw more of that, and
I saw a lot of tops.
I saw a lot of people just running things like Control Magic for value, which we really don't see. Even if it wasn't what the deck was doing, they're just like, oh, it's good. It's a good card. It steals your thing and gives me a thing and costs 4 mana. But I didn't see people running Homeward Path anywhere, whereas Homeward Path is all over the place in our meta. So there was a few differences like that. but power level matched up, I thought, fairly evenly.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Don Miner from EDH I played a lot of games with him over the course of the weekend. He has more powerful decks than on
Anybody
average.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, but he's not playing CDH combo decks. He just runs strong decks that, hey, what ridiculous weird legend enchantment is? Because I think I saw Chains of Mephistopheles, I saw the Abyss, and I saw Land
English
Equilibrium,
ones too.
Wow.
which are all pricey cards and do weird things. So he had a lot of real tough stacks decks, but I also more or less felt I could hang in with them. And his decks were better than mine, but I won a couple games. I was perfectly fine with that. So
Same
I felt
here.
like kind of that Jason Alt 75% thing where he says you want your decks to be able to not crush the noob, but also maybe hang in with the stronger decks. Yeah, I think we've kind of felt comfortably in that range. So that was cool to see. I like that too.
It was really cool to see that we aren't hyper competitive or hyper noob level
Right, yeah.
when it comes to building our decks.
And I'd kind of assumed that's where we felt anyway, but it was kind of good to hit a bunch of places right in a week to see that as well. So
Okay. Next question directed strictly at you, Dana.
yes.
Now, you had said something or told everyone something about 50 games or 100 games or something like
50
this.
games in a week is what I was
Yes.
trying to do.
Did you accomplish this?
I did not. I got to 43 on Saturday night, and I played 2 more Sunday morning that I didn't tweet about, just because we were packed up and I just didn't, because I wasn't planning on playing them. I went back to the GP Sunday morning before our flight while Max slept in and packed, and then I wound up running into the EDH Rec guys again who were there early too. So let's sit down and play, and they started tweeting on Twitter we're at table whatever, come find us for a game. So I played 2 of them before I took off.
Okay.
So it would have got me to 45 total. I could have definitely gotten to 50 if I would have stayed Sunday or
Not played the Commander
the
Championship.
Commander Championship. I only got 6 games in that entire Friday just because the championship was so slow in between rounds. And I probably could have also found side games in between rounds, and I just didn't.
Well, wall dying halfway through the day didn't help.
Right, yeah. So they were having to sort pairs on a spreadsheet because of it. So I could have got 50 in if I would have pushed a little bit harder for it. But I got 43, or 45 total. That's pretty good.
Now, which decks did you play the most, and which ones performed the best?
So I went and looked. I went back and checked. I won 15 of my 45 games, which is exactly a third of them. So a lot of them were 3-player, but a lot of them were 4-player too. I'm pretty happy with that. My best decks were Mina and Den and Reki.
Really?
And Reki.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Those
not
2.
surprised with Reki, but Mina and Den, really?
Yeah. And in thinking about it,
You played that deck a lot.
yeah. I played both those decks. Those are probably the ones I played the most too. I played Wasatora quite a bit as well. So in thinking about it, what I think the reason those 2 do well is because they have multiple paths to victory. Like Mina and Den, I can win with a couple big creature beats, but I can also win with Valkut triggers off Escape Shift. I can also win with Chandra's Ignition onto a huge creature. So I have a bunch of different ways I can get there, and it's tough to maybe stop all of them. Although you guys did one night at Chandra's Ignition for 40, and I think Max counterspelled it.
Oh, I would have countered that too in a heartbeat.
yeah. And then I think did I kill everybody then the next turn? I can't remember how that went.
I don't remember.
So that played really well, and Reki plays well just because I just draw so many cards, and people are like, "What is that? What is that garbage creature you're playing? Why are you playing garbage creatures? Why do you have 19 cards in your hand? What just?
You're playing mono green, right?
How come all your lands tap for 6 mana?"
So
those are my 2.
Yeah.
okay. What about you, Max?
Well, I followed Dana's footprints in trying to do 50 in a week. I stopped at 33. Atraxa Bowl was my 33rd game of the week.
Oh, no.
And a lot of that was strictly just the Commander Championship taking up all day Friday and not realizing that there was a computer issue and, time between rounds were an hour.
Oh, wow.
Because they couldn't do anything. I just looked through all my lists because I tracked winner in all my tweets when I tweeted them. Jamoka performed the best.
Really?
Yeah, you won a couple games
I won
against me with Jamoka.
And I won quite a few at Lodestone, and I won quite a few at Vegas with Jamoka. People just, it reiterates what we've said through the last 40-some episodes of this show, that Jamoka screws up how people play.
Now, how many times do you have to tell people straight up, you can't cast spells on my turn?
Specifically, I think I told Patrick Sapola of Commander Time the most, because every time
no.
he would go to do something because he knew he was going to die or someone's going to die, and I'm like, you can't do that, and he'd throw his card down. And
There was at least one time he had Rift Mana saved to save himself on Max's turn, and Max was like, you can't cast Rift now.
It happened a couple times in the Commander Championship tournament too. Someone went to Rift, and I'm like, you can't do that, and they're like, oh, you're right. Otherwise, my Gahiji deck was the next best deck I played. Those were the two big ones I played all week.
Really? Gahiji pulled out for you?
Pulled out a few wins. I mean, that was version 1.5, as I called it halfway through the week, because I upped the land base quite a bit while I was at Vegas. Yeah, it pulled out a few just because I got lucky and mounted a board state and dropped a Crater Hoof or something like that.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yep, thank you.
and I brought...
You're welcome for the All's Dust.
Right, exactly. I brought Wasatora, which I finished putting together like the day we left. So I literally had never played it once until we got to Lodestone, I think.
Yep.
And I was very happy with that throughout the week. So that was like version 1.0, and I've since tweaked it since then based on what things I observed playing it. But even in that raw format, I liked it. It worked well. There was a lot of times when I could, getting extra attack triggers with some of those creatures, including Wasatora, is just devastating. Necropolis Regent was the all-star, which is that vampire that you put counters on everything.
Yep.
If you get 2 attack phases with that in play, you just kill everybody.
You win.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible.
So that I was happy with that deck. I've tweaked it since. I needed a little more ramp. I needed more haste. That was the thing. If I had haste, I killed people, and if I didn't have haste, it was really tough.
Yeah.
You're not running Fervor or anything?
I had Yavimaya Hollow, or not Yavimaya Hollow, Fire's Yavimaya. I had 2 lands, which were Flamekin Village and
Weir Garrison.
And I think that was it. So now I've added Fervor, and I picked up a Hall of the Bandit Lord to give me. So now I have 5 sources.
Love Hall of the Bandit Lord.
Of course you do.
That won me a game.
It did.
Well, because you can't cast spells on your turn. So.
Right. Oh, Jamoka's slinging. And he's gaining life. Oh, no. I
actually Ancient Tombed Hall of the Bandit Lord and had to use colored mana to cast Jamoka one turn. I'm like, well, I'm gaining the 5 life back. It works.
All right, so Max, I'm going to direct this one over to you.
Okay.
Let Dana come up with the tail end of this. How was the venue overall?
Large.
Very large.
So our previous experience is GP Minneapolis, which we've gone to a few times.
Right.
And the hall itself was
3 to 4 times.
3 to 4 times as large as Minneapolis is.
It had steps. Like, there were multi-levels in this hall.
Oh.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go with you guys anymore. I'm going to get lost.
Well, it was organized well because you walked in the main door, and that was the Isle of Artists.
Okay.
Then you go down the ramp, and like they had all the registration in one area. All the vendors were pretty much down the first third of the hall, and they split the hall kind of into quarters. So like one quarter was where one main event was, one quarter was where the other main event was going to be, and then each side kind of had all these extra tables for your side events, your Commander Championships, your Pauper Championships. So it was very well laid out.
They also had a bunch of free tables over kind of close to the food area for people to eat on, but that just turned into people jamming Commander games. So there was probably 50 tables there that were
always full,
consistently full. People just playing side games, like non-even event games, just trading cards or playing games.
Commander, people had cubes, people had trades.
There was a dude that had a sign he brought in that was like made it was
PVC pipe.
Made of something. PVC pipe, that's right. It had the lights on it that just said cube draft occurring here, and he was like doing cube drafts at his table.
That's awesome.
And his box was really cool. It was a giant cube that unfolded, and each like fold had parts of the cube in it.
I suppose if you put the money into a cube, that's definitely somewhere you should bring it with you because it doesn't get played probably all that often.
So that was really fun. I mean, there was just, you would never have had trouble finding a game with somebody.
No. And we stayed at the Westgate, which is the hotel attached, and I say attached with air quotes because you have to walk across like a service road to get to the convention center from the hotel. So we were close.
Yep.
Like the walk from our room to the convention center was maybe 10 minutes.
Well, that's not bad.
And 30 seconds of it being outside.
Okay.
If we had stayed continued to stay on the strip are further away. There's a tram ride involved or a cab, and you don't want to do that after playing Magic for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's at night when you're closing up, you've been lugging that 50-pound backpack around all day. It was nice having the West Gate there to be staying there just to go back and crash.
Yeah.
Or actually, in our case, go back and then play games in the room at night every night, which is what we did.
Now, compared to a GP, which is probably the biggest event I've been to, how were the vendors? Was there lots? Not a lot?
I mean, 25 to 30
vendors.
big vendors.
Like, are we talking big vendors like Channel Fireball, Star City Games,
The
that kind of stuff?
only one I
or-
didn't see was Card Kingdom.
Card Kingdom did not come this year. Apparently, they were there last year.
Okay.
But they were at GP Seattle, which was a couple months ago,
Makes sense.
because they're based out of Seattle. So the big vendors that everybody would know would be obviously Channel Fireball, since they run the event.
Yep.
Cool Stuff Inc. was there. Those would probably be your two big name brand.
Right.
The next ones would be like Face to Face Games was there. 95
MTG. There was a couple that I think were Asian vendors out of Japan or China or some or Korea or someplace.
MTG Deals was there. I've never done business with them, but all they did was buy.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
All they do is buy to stock their online store. And I worked with Card Monster Games because I'm used to them from GP Minneapolis, SCG Milwaukee. I mean, I waited an hour in line to sell to them. They had five buyers constantly going.
Now, were the vendors all packed like that?
Constantly.
Yeah. And they were dual lands were flying off vendor tables. I mean, like every time I stopped to watch something or look at prices or something, someone was buying a dual land in front of me. So those were flying out the door,
I don't even
including Max.
Yep.
I don't even want to talk about dual lands right now. It's getting out of control.
Yeah,
We just had an episode about this, and it's getting worse than it was then.
I mean, there were vendors there that I'd never heard of, so they had smaller booths, but they had stuff I was looking for. So it's like, okay, I'll pay $5 for that foil legendary creature from Battle Bond that nobody else has.
Yep.
Yeah, I found some cool, neat little foil. I got a foil Dolmen Gate, I think, for $5.
Yep.
I wound up getting a foil foil terrain generator, pretty cheap. I got a foil Riftstone Portal, pretty cheap. So I got a couple little cards I didn't really even care about, but the prices was so good in some binder somewhere that I just picked them up.
Yeah, I regret from GP Minneapolis when we went digging through. They were like, oh, these are like damaged card binders, and there was a couple of plateaus sitting in there for like $60. I'm like, no, they're never going to go up in price. And shoot me now.
My big score was I bought 6 elephant graveyards.
Why?
Thank you.
And before I left, I used the last of my Card King credit to buy 4 more, so I got 10 now at home. So here's my logic. Here's what I'm thinking. Like I'm no expert. So
You were with the finance
I
expert
was
too.
He didn't tell me I was an idiot. Jason Alt didn't tell me I was a moron, so
Not
that's something.
verbatim.
Right. So here's my thought process at least. I got them all for under 100. So I've got close to $1,000 tied up in elephant graveyards right now.
Okay.
It's Arabian Nights on the reserve list. It's not going to get reprinted.
Yep.
There's far worse cards from Arabian Nights that are over that. Like Scheherazad's close to 200. Ring Maroof is like 160. So there's other bad reserve list cards worth more than Elephant Graveyard. But my big thinking here is we've never had a legendary elephant. Well, there's Frankie Peanuts, but you can't use him as a commander. And we're going back to Ravnica where there's Loxodon. We
True.
always get 10 legends in the Ravnica set so far.
And
So-
it seems like they've been ramping up the amount of legends that have been in each set.
So if we get an elephant commander, and Elephant Graveyard is available as a card that you can just tap to regenerate your commander, I feel as if that's probably going to be a card that the demand will go up.
Okay.
So worst case, it's not going down. It's not going to be worth. Arabian Nights cards aren't cratering in price anytime soon. So if I want to sell those next year because they haven't moved at all, I can probably recoup most of my money.
If not, break even and
right.
go somewhere else with
If
it.
not, just accidentally make $100 or something just
Yep.
because they've gone up, $10 a piece or something. However, that could be a $200 or $300 card next year, just accidentally.
True.
If a Loxodon commander gets printed, and I pay for my trip to Vegas with Elephant Graveyards. So that was the closest I had to an investment this weekend was because Max was walking with me. I'm like, every place I went, I'm like, that was the card I was looking for, and I bought most of them that were in stock at places.
Now, did you do research before you left on something like that?
And that was just my plan. I'd just been thinking that for a couple weeks. And I just decided, you know what? I've got a little bit extra money. I'm going to be at GP Vegas. I'll just start scooping up graveyards and see what happens. So
Okay. So you guys described the venue when you came in.
Yep.
yeah,
You said artists.
Yes.
So there were a lot of them there, wasn't there?
there was.
There's probably a dozen, if not more.
Yeah, at least.
Now, you guys did bring up also for our June giveaway,
Yep.
CMDR June, that you guys got cards signed.
Yes.
Were there any other cards that you got signed?
So I got, I went to Howard Line where I got that Sign in Blood sign with like the blood spider. That looks really cool. But I got him to do an ultra on a Bajuka Bog for me. So I have a foil Bajuka
really?
Bog. And well, you say that now. So
I see Max over here just grinning.
so he does a really cool, like he airbrushes like around it, so he darkens it and kind of
Metallic-y.
makes it look metallic-y and real. It's real shaded.
Okay.
It looks really good. He did it in green and silver, and then he did like a shadow signature on it that's really nice, and hands it to me and says, "Be careful. It's going to take about 10 minutes to dry." Meanwhile, I got a text from Ryan and Brando wanting to do a Commander pod. So I'm like, yeah, I'll come meet you guys. I'm texting him. So I get my card, shake Howard Line's hand, give him my money, say thanks. I took maybe 10 steps and bumped into somebody and dropped the card. And it flips and lands face down on the cement floor of the convention hall. And when I picked it back up, you could see the silver writing like on the ground from where the silver
Oh, no.
from where it hit. It still looks good.
It does look good.
But the silver on his signature is you can
Spotty.
see it's spotty because it hit where it hit the floor.
Oh, sad day, sad day.
And then I was like, I should go get him and do another one, but I was just like so upset.
you were tilted.
It just bummed me out. I was like, come on. And I waited like 45 minutes in line to get it too, because he does a bunch of cool stuff, so people were waiting in line for him.
Right.
So that sucked.
I got a foil chromatic lantern signed by Jung Park.
Yep.
For my Gahiji deck, because that's where one of my foils is. I also got a artist proof Brago because she was there.
Nice.
And I had her sign it. So it's a foil artist proof of the Eternal Masters Brago. I was a little sad because I've been running the Conspiracy one.
Right.
Because it was the first one I opened. But she had a foil artist proof of Brago that she signed. So I have an illegal card in a deck because it doesn't have a back on it.
That's fine. It's sleeved.
Right,
double-sleeved,
exactly.
and
You honestly can't even tell when you hold the card.
Right,
You can't tell
yeah.
it's missing the back.
I wanted to say thank you to both you guys. I don't know who idea it was, but you guys brought me a foil Alesha back, signed.
I think I went and bought it, and Max went and waited in line
And
to
paid
get signed.
to get it signed, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that is definitely getting sleeved up. It's sitting right in my box, ready to go in the sleeve.
And we got you the timestamp one, too.
I know. Ooh.
You are welcome. I got 2 Gliss of the Trader pre-release foils signed by Steve Argyle as well.
Okay.
And that was a long wait because I waited in line like 40 minutes-ish or so for him. And then I was 2 people from the front, and someone came and got him when they were doing a giveaway for Wedge, like a money raising thing. So like, we need to take away Steve for a little bit. He's got to go sign some stuff. He'll be back in like an hour. So I was like, it's not his fault. Like, I can't get mad, and I'm not going to get mad at him, or it's not, that's a nice thing they did. But I was like, really? Oh dear God, I just been waiting. So he leaves, and like the line empties out. It's like me and the guy in front of me, and we couldn't like just leave our cards or anything. We had to, we had to wait. And I was gonna bail. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna stick around an hour. I'll try maybe tonight and get lucky. Maybe it'll be a short line. And they came back. He's like, it only took 10 minutes, so that was fast.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh, thank God I waited and didn't take off. So he does a cool signature where he uses like 3 different layers of ink, and they put like a foil over the top of it, and then pass it through a heater, and the foil burns off into the ink. You'll see it on Tuesday.
Awesome.
So I waited for that too, but that was really cool. That turned out really nice. And I got 2 of them done just because I figured why, in case I drop one of them like a big dummy, I'll still have one good one. So I kept those 2.
If I'm not mistaken, Therese Nielsen was supposed to be there.
She
Right?
was there.
Now,
And her line was ridiculous.
Okay, I was gonna say, besides her, was there any other artists that stood out above the rest?
Robert Alexander was
Rob
there?
Alexander was there
Rob
as well.
Alexander.
Oh, really? He was there too.
Yes.
Yeah. Therese Nielsen had a huge long line because she's Therese Nielsen.
And she sets her own hours.
Absolutely.
Oh, I would believe it.
Everyone else was there from like,
Open to close.
Right, from their time. And she just was like, yeah, I'll show up when I want to show up. Which I would absolutely, I'm not like ripping on her for that. I would absolutely be doing that as well.
When you're that high profile, there's no reason not to be.
I walked by her booth when she wasn't there, and it was hours for GP Vegas, like 10 to 1, 2 to 3 hour break, 3 to 6.
Wow.
And the line was long. I did not get
No,
anything.
I never.
I brought cards to ever do, but I didn't want to wait in line at that point.
Yeah, I know Max and I discussed that before you guys went, and I'm like, I have a mint condition Force of Will I could get sent to be signed, but I was like, no, I think I'll just pass on that.
My one observation I'm going to make here is the young, well, I guess not even really young, but there's some artists that do a lot of different things. Like I mentioned, Howard Lyon does it airbrushing, and Steve Argyle did the foil thing. And number one, those guys are good artists to begin with.
Yep.
But number two, when they do that thing, they then have a line of people going 10 or 12 deep, waiting to get things done the entire time.
Right.
But there were some other artists there, and I'm not going to say which one I got signed, but I had somebody sign a card that's an old card that doesn't have a foil. So but he had nobody in line, because all he does is does a signature, and he didn't even do a good signature. It's not like he's doing it in like
a shadow signature,
or
anything.
throwing colors on it. And maybe he didn't want to do that. I don't know. Maybe it's just boring to him. I don't know. But like, I feel like I'm surprised. I was surprised because clearly those guys are making pretty decent money when they were doing the fancy things.
Yep.
And I'm like, I would think everyone would want to do that. So that was a strange thing to me. I would have thought people would have been pushing their stuff more, but some artists just weren't that into it.
It was also interesting to see the price differences between artists. So like, Jung Park, the guy who does Chromatic Lantern, Sky Sovereign, he charged $1 for a signature or $2 for the shadow signature, which is like the gold on top of the black.
Yep.
Then you have someone like the artist who does Brago, and it was 5 cards for free.
Really?
And then she had a tip jar, but then after the 5th one, it was like $1 a signature.
Yeah, that's different. I mean, I know when we went to the GP, there was an artist there who was doing signatures for free as well. And people would just be like, yep, cool. They'd walk away, and it's like, I went up, and I'm like, here's a $10 tip,
yeah,
I guess.
I feel like they should just charge something so you get your time is compensated.
Right. And like, I bought that artist proof of Brago, so that was a $30 card.
Yep.
So there's the signature was free then. I paid for the card, and
well, Steve Argyle even had somebody working the line for him. He had his assistant there, and she was like, she'd go to every person, be like, have your cards out, have them out of the sleeve. This is what our price sheet is. Have your money ready. So like
organized. I like it.
It was really organized, despite being a long line, because there's a lot of people wanting.
Well, that way he can get through as many people as possible, and no one leaves disappointed.
And it was. I would bet of the 15 people I saw in line or talked to when I was there, 12 of them were getting Liliana the Veil signed.
Go figure.
So, yeah. Because he actually commented when I got the Glissa, so I'm like, oh, Glissa is nice.
Something different.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of Liliana's getting done.
Yeah.
So
what was the most memorable moments for both of you?
I will drop mine first. Mine is in a game. I made a play in a game. It was a game. I can't remember what deck I was. Was it? I might have been the Blood Pod deck. Might have been Don's Blood Pod deck. I don't remember. Or Chainer. Anyway, I played my Edric deck one time over the course of the weekend, and got off to a fast start because I think I opened Chrome Mox.
Yep.
So turn 2, I had Edric out and swung with a creature or 2, and then hit Cradle pretty quickly. But his decks are. I mean, he can swing with that. Don's decks are strong.
So after he sees you do that, he's like, oh, that's how we're playing. Okay.
Well, no, because that's just how he plays.
But Don also makes himself a kingmaker just because everybody knows what his decks can do. So he walks into a game as kingmaker.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't like he was like that because that's just how his decks are. But he wound up getting an upper hand somehow and swung at me for lethal after I think I killed you maybe?
Nope, I was still alive.
Or I hit you hard
you
to
just
draw a bunch of
killed
cards.
Keats, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I killed Keats. That's right. Who's a programmer at EDH Rack. So I think I killed Keats, and I was open for the crackback. Don swings at me for lethal. So I flashed in Spellstutter Sprite, which got flash as a blocker.
Yep.
Force of Willed it. And then Swan Song my Force of Will to get the Swan into play.
To have enough blockers.
To have a second blocker.
Out of left field.
Yeah. And the creature that hit me took me to 1.
Oh.
And I wound up winning the game. Now there was some stuff going on that let me win, like because I think Don had a shaman, Deathrite shaman in play,
Okay.
but he didn't have mana to activate the ability to do like the last 2 points of damage to me.
Because I destroyed the mana
Because
he
destroyed
had.
the mana, and so like, and then he let me win, or he let me live one more turn because he wanted to draw cards off Edric, and then I was able to kill him the next turn with I can't remember if it was Biomass Mutation or what it was. But
So who let you live to draw cards?
Don did because he could draw because he had a bunch of creatures out too.
Okay, Don, I'm going to tell you right now, if you listen, it's a trap.
It is a
It's
trap.
a huge trap.
Yeah. So that was fun being able to make that play.
What about you, Max?
I think it would be the games we played in the suite with the EDH Rec guys.
Okay.
Every night we went back to
Yep.
Don's room. He had a double room, and we just piled in there, like 10 of us every night playing jamming games. It was a blast.
Those were all a lot of fun.
Yeah. You know, we're just sitting up there chilling from the day and just still playing EDH. Like,
We also played really good games when we went over to DJ from Jumbo Commander's place Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
There was 5 of us, I think.
Yep.
And we played
6 or 7 games.
7 games with him on Wednesday night, and those were all really good games too.
Yeah.
I like outside of the couple ones in the Commander tournament, which I knew were going to be bad because of the deck discrepancies. I played good games all weekend. Playing with just like random people and stuff they were all good games.
Meeting listeners, I think, would probably be my second best memories. People coming up and saying,
Yeah.
we enjoy your show. Do you want to play a game?
Yep, your loser co-host wasn't there.
People were asking where you were. we were asked multiple times
Yeah.
where Chris was.
I think both Ryan and Brando are like, where's Chris? We're like,
Yeah.
at home. Oh, we just brought our wives with us.
Ryan
Next time.
Ryan and Brando were great. They were a lot of fun to play with. They had FU Joel was with.
FU Joel, FU Schmitty, and one other FU that I don't remember. So FU.
Right, exactly. But they were a ton of fun to play with, and they were exactly like I would have thought they would be like. They
Yeah.
were exactly like that. So, yeah, it was great meeting people that you just knew online.
Yeah, and shout out to Brando, who took 30th in the Commander Championship
He
tournament.
did. You think he was
Wow.
playing Zada?
He was playing Zada, yes.
Which was
Zada,
which was
Grinder.
fast deck.
Hmm.
Because he killed in that pot, the pot I played in after I dropped my Howard Lyon card. I think he won on turn 4 or 5 with Zada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a fast deck.
Very
But yeah, they
good.
were just generally everybody was very super
Yeah.
nice. I mean, I've got nothing but great things to say about pretty much everybody I met.
So overall, to sum this up, you guys it was a blast overall.
I wrote, I think when we landed in Minneapolis, I wrote GP Vegas 2018 is done and I can't wait for 2019. And that I wasn't making a joke. I am absolutely hyped for 2019 to go back and have even more people that couldn't make it this year. A bunch of EDH Rec writers that couldn't make it for various weird reasons that happened simultaneously, like a baby or a move or whatever that couldn't make it, that are going to make it next year that I want to meet and play with. So I absolutely am going back next year and cannot wait.
Same here.
All right, so sign out question for you two.
Yes.
And this is going to be an open one. If there's any one thing you would suggest for any of our listeners who plan on attending a large gathering like that, what would it be?
Buy elephant graveyards.
I'm going to go a completely different way with that. Bring snacks.
That is a tip I've gotten from a lot of high name players for big tournaments.
I mean, I didn't bring much to the convention center. I brought 3 boxes of granola bars with me for the entire trip, and
Trail mix, my friend.
Dana brought trail
I
mix.
brought trail mix. That was my snack I had.
But I saved a box for just in the morning at the hotel, but the 2 went with me to the GP, and I was really happy to have them because convention food is expensive.
And you may have good intentions of getting up and having breakfast in the morning, but that just falls apart because you find yourself sleeping in later than you wanted because you were up too late, and then you're like, I just need to get to the GP and start doing whatever I'm going to do. So rush over there, and then next thing you know, it's 3 p.m. because you've been playing games and stuff has came up, and you're hungry. You don't want to go buy chicken fingers for $14 from a vendor maybe. So yeah, have stuff with you.
Yeah.
We did that for Star City Games Minneapolis. We went to IHOP, and it was an hour wait, and we're like, nope. So we went and we bought $10 hamburgers at the vendors.
Yeah.
Another thing is be patient.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, I stood in line to sell cards for an hour. But as I was standing there and looking around, everywhere else had just as long of lines. So you don't play the line game and and I think we mentioned this in our first episode, the few times we've talked about events. If you have a ton of cards to trade in, find the one place that has the majority of what you want. So you don't have to go digging through your lot of cards saying, well, I only want these 3 things, so I'm going to trade you these 10 cards. I went to Card Monster Games. They had everything I wanted, or I had like 80% of everything I wanted. So that's where I stood in line because I knew I would be able to give them my stack of cards, then get my credit slip and walk to the booth where all the cards were.
I would say flip through binders at vendors as well, because they have the good stuff in cases, but you will oftentimes find surprisingly good cards in their binders for surprisingly good prices. I would say keep an eye on social media of like content creators you want to meet or play games against, because there was a lot of that going on where, someone tweets out, hey, I'm at table 512 for the next 2 hours playing games. Come find me. So there was a lot of that going on. You could just go find someone and play games with somebody. But I would also say when you find someone that you want to meet or play a game with, also give them a little bit of room to breathe. I'm thinking particularly of Cassius Marsh, had a lot of people just like
around him
in his when he's trying to like buy cards. He's like at a vendor looking to pick up some stuff, and there's people like bugging him when he's trying to get that done. Also, let those guys have a few minutes to
do their thing,
get their thing done.
I will put out an example of this. The 2 or 3 years ago when we went to GP Minneapolis, LSV was there.
Right.
We went up to go get his signature, and in the process walking up, we saw him sit down, pull something out of his backpack, set it on the table, and open up and start eating.
And we all turned around.
And we all turned around. And yet I still saw people coming up to him and talking to him while he was eating.
Yeah.
They're normal human beings, man. Give him some space.
And he's a super nice dude, and he would have given you a signature if he would have waited. And I'm sure he did anyway. Like I would guarantee everyone who came up to him when he was eating a sandwich, he still probably talked to him and shook their hand and did their thing. But he'll do it in 10 minutes too if he's about to finish a sandwich. So that I would say keep an eye on that. Although most people were cool about that as well. I didn't see a lot of that. Cassius especially was easy to notice because he's a head taller than everybody else.
And ink everywhere.
And there's ink everywhere, right? So he was easy to spot that. But give him a little bit of breathing room. But everyone was super cool, and I just played so many games, and it would kill me to do it more than the time I was there. I would just have just died. But man, that was a fantastic week. I had a great time.
Awesome. So GP Vegas sounds like it was a really good experience for both of you. I'm glad that you guys are both back safe and sound. We didn't pull a Leonard Skinner or
we did not.
Whatever.
No, we did
not. And as for all our listeners out there who were at GP Vegas, I would love to hear your experiences or anything else like that.
We talked to a lot of people and gave away a lot of pins for sure.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So until next time, I'm Chris.
I'm Max.
And I'm Dana.